Guys, I'm usually a very positive person, but a huge crash is about to come. And in this video, I want to cover how I see the markets. There are lots of uncertainties and how you can manage your portfolio in this world of uncertainty. Should you sell everything? Should you sit in cash? Should you continue to investing? Don't worry, I'll cover everything in this video, okay? So my name is Henry. I've been investing for 20 years and I manage a hedge fund that has like an amazing performance. It's called Maverick Capital. In this video, I'm going to detail everything you need to know, especially if you are a serious investor that wants to have big returns, compound your returns over time. And let me start by sharing here the screen and telling you a story. So a few years ago, I was working for HSBC. This was like late 2018, early 2019. And I remember having a conversation over coffee with my friend Jason. And he was saying, we were both talking that the stock market has been going up so much non-stop. The market needs to crash. We need a huge crash and we need a huge correction. And as you can see here on the chart, indeed, the S&P 500 from 2009 to 2019 went up like crazy, 300%. It's a 4x. You have multiplied every dollar invested in the S&P 500. You now have, in 2019, will be $4. So if you have invested $10 in 2009, in 2019 is $40. The market definitely needs to crash. It looks very expensive, right? A market that goes up like this definitely looks expensive. So what happened after that? Well, after that, we had many different events that were supposed to break the market, right? We had the Fed rate hikes and the economic slowdown in 2018. We had the US-China trade war escalation, recession fears. We had COVID, the pandemic, COVID crash, unemployment spiking to 14%. We had the post-COVID inflation. We had the rate hikes, Ukraine and the Russian war, US banking crisis, the Chinese debt crisis, Israel-Hamas war, Trump tariffs, Japanese carry trade unwind, the US presidential elections uncertainty, Iran conflict and oil spikes. And now we still have recession fears. And what we see here, looking at this chart, what do you see here? Is that there are always uncertainties in the markets, right? The markets always climb a wall of worries and uncertainty. So no matter what, when you are looking at the market, you are always living in a world of uncertainty. And what we have now, we have inflation fears, we have high bond yields, we have geopolitical messiness, we have a new Fed chair that we don't know what he is going to do, Kevin Warsh. We have high oil prices. And most people, I know many people that unfortunately at the moment are just saying, I will wait for the dust to settle and finally invest. Now, breaking news. The dust never settles. There is always lots of dust in the air, right? As you can see here, over the last 6-7 years, there are always a ton of excuses not to invest in the market. And if you were waiting on the sidelines because of the Fed rate hikes, the COVID, the unemployment, this and that, all these events that you see here on the chart, if you're waiting on the sidelines for the dust to settle, you will miss a huge upsurge in the market. You miss huge gains because, in fact, over this period, let me put here the percentage of the chart. The S&P 500 went up almost 200%, okay? Despite all the fears, despite the wars, despite the inflation, despite the pandemic, the market still has gone up almost 200%. So, saying this, yes, I'm 100% sure that the crash will happen, but nobody knows when, okay? And you know, more money has been lost by people trying to prepare for market crash than in market crashes themselves. So the best way to deal with the market here is really don't panic. Don't look at the headlines because the market is always scary. There is always fears. There are always uncertainties. but the market continues to go up. Because when you are investing in the stock market, you are investing in productive assets. When you buy the S&P 500, which is the chart that we are looking at here, you are investing in the 500 biggest companies in the US. You are investing in Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Tesla, Google, all these amazing companies. And when you invest in these companies, you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people working for you. Now you are the boss of all these companies. You want a share of all these companies that have amazing management and they are doing their best to make money. That's why the market continues to go up. And I'm not saying that the current situation, the geopolitical situation and uncertainties, it looks scary, I know, but it always looks scary, okay? If the investing was easy without fears, then everybody will be rich, or maybe not, because everybody will invest and then the markets will not return as well, as good as they return. Let me show you here another chart. This is another chart that I made a while ago and also shows from 2022 until now, all the experts saying US inflation recession is in inflation recession, bearish forecasts, Michael Burry saying sell. Well, basically, I'm not going to read these headlines, but all these headlines and all these experts, right, saying that the market is about to crash, we are in a recession, the market, all doom and gloom, we are entering a bear market, and what does the market do? It keeps going up. And yes, there is volatility, but this volatility is only a risk in the short term. Volatility equals performance in the long term. Do you think Warren Buffett is worried about volatility? No, because he's a very long-term investor. And the reason why Warren Buffett is one of the richest people in the world is because he knows one secret, which is the secret of compounding effect, gains over gains. And the only way of having access to that powerful compounding effect is not selling, not panicking, stay invested and keep investing, keep adding even more to your portfolio. Finally, I want to share with you one more chart. What about recessions? In this chart, you have all the recessions in gray since 1915 until 2020 approximately. And as you can see here, usually the market starts to go down, the stock market, the S&P 500 starts to react way earlier before a recession is announced. Why? Well, because recession numbers always come out with a huge delay, with 3 to 6 months of delay. And very often also, when the numbers come out, because it's so delayed by so many months, in the meantime, the economy is already recovering. So looking at whether we are in a recession or not, whether the economy is slowing down or not, or in the GDP growth, is not even a reliable measure to invest in the stock market. Because stock markets are a time machine. Basically, it's a time machine that is looking into the future. And as you can see, in most of these arrows, the stock market reacts many months before the recession numbers actually come out. So you cannot predict a recession. And even if you could predict a recession, it wouldn't be very useful. So again, the best way to invest in this case is to stay invested, keep buying and holding, because in the long term, everything is going to be fine. And let me share with you one more chart here, okay? And the chart that I want to share with you, so we have here the S&P 500, which for the last 15 years, let me put 15 years chart here, approximately since mid-2011, 15 years went up by, how much? 600%, okay? But if you have invested in some leverage ETFs, for example, 2x S&P 500, you will have returned 2,500%. This is a huge difference, right? And if you have invested in UPRO, you have returned, are you ready to see this crazy number? You'll have returned 6,000%, okay? It's a huge compounding effect, even in a period where there was tons of fears and the geopolitical situation and all that stuff. But of course, there is a lot of volatility here. And if you want to know how to navigate this investment space with leverage ETFs and how to maximize your returns, check the Henrik Wealth Academy, link in the description of the video, because I have a ton of useful information there for you, and also a 4.5 hours course about ETF investing, where I show you everything you need to know about ETF investing to be really the best investor you can be and to retire early from your ETF investing and just multiply your wealth. Okay guys, let me know if you have any questions, and if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.